people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. What is an update to a story I talked about here on the channel quite a few weeks ago, what seemed to be an official fight between Estelle Mosley and Carla Zamora, set to go down later on this month on the 27th, what seemed to be official enough at least, that the WBA posted it on their website.
It's not happening now.
What I viewed as a potential banana skin for Estelle Mosley, who's a finesse fighting kind of fighter, not really big on power, hasn't really made a splash in the pros in spite of her Olympic gold medal background. She seems more like a professional amateur to me than a professional.
Focusing more on the amateurs than the pros.
Working with the amateurs or in amateur boxing more than in her own pro career. So that fight doesn't look to be happening, but this one is. A fight between Canada's own Marie-Pierre Houle and that same Carla Zamora.
Marie-Pierre Houle is better suited for this assignment than Estelle would have been.
What is the fight between Marie and Carla? That looks to be going down in late June at the Montreal Casino in Montreal. The last time that Carla was in Canada was for the Jessica Camara fight, a fight that most favored Jessica Camara to win. Didn't expect that Carla was going to run through her like that. Knock her out.
She knocked her out.
Now she's going back. She's going back for yet another Canadian fighter in Marie-Pierre Houle that sports a professional record of 10 wins with 1 loss, 1 draw, 3 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 12 professional contests. That lone defeat came at the hands of Sandy Ryan,
the current reigning WBO welterweight champion. The fight between them, that took place at welterweight. This fight, it's downstairs at super lightweight.
Marie-Pierre Houle has since moved down, and she's going to be facing Carla Zamora, who sports a professional record of 11 wins with 10 losses, 1 draw, 4 knockouts, having been knocked out once in 22 professional contests. Just once.
She's tough.
She hits hard. What makes Marie-Pierre Houle better suited for this assignment against Carla than Estelle would have been is Estelle is a finesse fighting kind of fighter. She's not big on power.
Not explosive.
Whereas Marie, she's a bit more game, bit more of a mid-range to inside fighter and a combination puncher, that she is big enough and strong enough to fight off Carla Zamora if she has to. Carla, who saw action 3 times last year, she knocked out Jessica Camara in March, dropped a points decision to Beatriz Ferreira in July, and rebounded off the loss by stopping Erica Farias in November.
Now she's fighting Marie.
Marie saw action 3 times last year. She was busy too. She beat Marisol Moreno in January, dropped a decision to Sandy Ryan in April, rebounded off that loss in October opposite the ring Cindy Reyes Espinoza, and she's already seen action once, at least once this year, earlier this month, on the 4th.
Forcing Marissa Portillo to retire in a corner after 3 rounds. Now she's fighting Carla.
I like Marie-Pierre Houle to win. I don't know if she stops Carla Zamora, but I would be impressed if she did.
Where does this leave Estelle Mosley?
Focusing on the amateur circuit, I guess, and working with them in the amateurs, doing more photo shoots.
She's a novelty boxer to me.
I don't view Estelle's professional boxing career as being as serious as her amateur career was. She did compete at the highest levels in the amateurs. She did win a gold medal, but her pro career is not as ambitious, and she's in a very deep division where there are a lot of familiar names and familiar faces that she could have and should have fought by now. She debuted as a professional back there in 2017, and she only has 11 fights. For a perspective, Katie debuted the year before.
Katie Taylor.
Now, compare where Katie Taylor is in her career to where Estelle is in her career. They're both Olympians, they're both gold medalists, but Look at that retrospect.
So you know.
Estelle isn't fighting Carla Zamora, and she may have dodged the bullet because I wasn't even sure if Estelle was going to win that fight.
She don't end up like Jessica Kamara did.
Reed-Pierre Houle will be fighting Carla instead, freeing up Estelle Mosley's schedule to do more photo shoots.
She is hot.
Yeah, she's fucking hot, but like I said, it just always seemed to me that Estelle did not have the same fire in her belly, passion, and ambition in the pros that she exhibited in the amateurs, that she's quite content occasionally fighting and circling around the outskirts of these divisions, fighting the outliers instead of going for the gold in the pros the way she did in the Amis.
It is what it is.
And lightweight news, picking up where we left off yesterday as it pertains to the back-and-forth exchange between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson, what are both the WBA and WBC champions at that weight. An interesting tweet from Gervonta, an interesting bit of information. According to him, I have a 6-7 fight deal. You're in there, little bro.
What?
That was my initial reaction. Gervonta has a 6 or 7 fight deal, and Shakur Stevenson is a part of that deal. How does that work when Shakur is over there at Top Rank?
Yeah.
And Gervonta Davis, by all accounts, he's still on the PBC side of things. How could he be a part of what is your 6 to 7 fight deal? And what about this 6 or 7 fight deal? I remember
What?
ahead of the Rolly Romero fight, Gervonta Davis said that that was his final fight of his existing Mayweather Promotions deal, that after that, he would become a promotional free agent.
I wasn't expecting much.
In spite of him saying that and all of the hullabaloo that it created, I didn't expect Gervonta Davis to go anywhere. Irrespective of his status with Mayweather Promotions, I still expected him to fall under the PBC banner, the PBC umbrella, and he did. He didn't go anywhere.
Whether he's with Mayweather Promotions or not.
But if he's not, then who did he strike the deal with? Because he claims he has a 6 to 7 fight deal. A deal with who? Shakur S. Stevenson responded to Gervonta by saying, "Perfect. Enough said, little guy."
That's all it ever amounts to with Gervonta Davis is talk.
Whether you're asking him about Devin Haney or you're asking him about Shakur Stevenson, it all devolves into old sparring stories from when these guys were kids, Shakur Stevenson and Devin being some years younger than Gervonta. All he ever talks about is what happened in the amateurs or what happened in sparring. Old gym stories, not recent ones.
It's always the same.
An excuse not to fight this guy, an excuse not to fight that guy. Excuse culture.
Excuse making.
Vasil Lomachenko's name was tied to the name of Gervonta Davis for some years, and he never got around to fighting him, but you know who did? Teofimo Lopez.
He did.
Devin Haney.
He did.
Now George Cambodia is about to fight him, but not Gervonta. Gervonta never got around to fighting him. Never got around to doing it. What's the excuse for that? Now, what's the excuse not to fight Devin? What's the excuse not to fight Shakur?
This 6 or 7 fight deal?
You bring up Devin and why Gervonta Davis should fight him. What his fans like to do is bring up Devin's weight and the fact that Devin moved up in weight. Well, Shakur is right there. What about him?
Probably going to bring up this 6 or 7 fight deal.
Gervonta's acolytes, his core supporters, his fans who swear fealty to him for what reason I don't know, since he almost never fights who people ask him to fight. What is it about him then that they like so much?
His dainty little feet.
A teacup of a man. What is a bite-sized fighter who they swear is the big man on campus for all of the fighters that he hasn't fought, and what are their latent homosexual tendencies
That he reflects.
You want to know how it is Gervonta Davis could have such loyal fans, such loyal supporters when he never fights who you ask him to fight, who you want him to fight. He doesn't fight the best fighters around, so what is it that they're loyal to? What do they like so much about him?
That he plays booty tag with Adrian Broner.
You ever taken a good long look at who Gervonta Davis' supporters really are? It's always these emaciated young guys with very pronounced collarbones.
Jesus.
What?
How to get that kid a sandwich?
It's always these really young, really skinny, dusty, musty looking guys that love Gervonta Davis, swear by him. What they really like about him?
They want to fuck him.
Get fucked by him. It's what it is. It's got nothing to do with boxing. It's got fuck all to do with boxing.
What they're now calling for.
Gervonta Davis's fans are saying they're going to boycott this weekend's fight between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, which doesn't make a ton of sense. If Ryan was good enough for Gervonta Davis, who's supposed to be the big man on campus, If he was good enough for him, why wouldn't he be good enough for Devin? What's wrong with it?
You were alright watching Gervonta fight this same Ryan Garcia with weight stipulations, with a catch weight and a rehydration clause. There are no weight stipulations in this fight.
Now you don't like it. They'll say things like it's because of the undercard. There are no good fights on the undercard, but there were no good fights on the undercard for Garcia versus Davis. Both those undercards are weak.
They'll say things like this is an exhibition fight.
But the Gervonta Davis fight wasn't. What made that fight more legitimate than this one? What exactly?
What are they afraid of?
What they're afraid of is that Devin Haney may start to catch up to Gervonta Davis in terms of pay-per-view sales. Now, this fight is not going to do over 1 million pay-per-view buys. I don't think it's going to do as well as the fight with Davis did, but it's going to do all right.
What they're afraid of.
That this fight will end up selling more pay-per-views than Gervonta Davis's next fight. Not his last fight, his next fight.
The Frank Martin fight.
That's what they're afraid of. That Haney versus Garcia will bring in more robust numbers than Gervonta Davis's next fight, and if it does, it will reflect poorly on Gervonta Davis, that without Ryan Garcia, you really can't do big numbers, real numbers, because here you are with Frank Martin.
It's not gonna sell shit.
Now they're saying they're gonna boycott this weekend's fight.
Whoa.
The Fire Stick Committee is not gonna pay for a fight? Oh my god, what is Devin gonna do? That the guys with the least buying power of anybody are gonna boycott his show?
This is terrible.
So when Zesty Crouton on Twitter says he's gonna boycott Devin Haney's fight, that's why. That's what it's all about. So when you look at it, they don't want Gervonta to fight these other fighters that are out there. They don't want him to fight them, but they don't want them to fight each other either. What do they want?
Get fucked in the ass.
That's what they want. That's what they're into. That's what they really like about Gervonta Davis. These are not boxing fans. What the hell was so right about Garcia versus Davis that is now so wrong about Garcia versus Haney?
What?
It's not their Man Crush Monday fighting. That's what's wrong with it. That's what it's all about.
The Housewives of Atlanta crowd wants to boycott this fight as if you ever had the buying power to make a dent.
Devin doesn't need you to buy this fight. In truth, Devin doesn't need you. Devin's been making good money all without your support. Finally, in men's light heavyweight news, former WBC champion Alexander Gvozdyk confirms the David Benavidez fight will happen in Houston on June 22nd.
There has been some speculation as to whether or not this fight was going to happen. On the undercard of Gervonta Davis's next fight with Frank Martin,
former light heavyweight champion Alexander Gvozdyk is due to face the division's newcomer David Benavidez for a mandated WBC interim title fight despite no formal announcement. It's not even been announced yet because everybody already knows, due to inside sources, Gvozdyk said. In an exclusive interview with Boxing Scene, I don't know what they are doing. Maybe they don't want it before they announce another fight or something like that. PBC, they haven't really advertised any of the shows from what I have seen, but I don't know. I'm guessing.
He's right.
Zoo versus Thurman, which subsequently became Zoo versus Fundora, didn't get much of a push.
No.
Didn't get much promotion, advertising, in spite of it being on a very big platform. Canelo's fight with Jaime Munguia, it's not really getting that much of a push either. Not that it needs one. It's a Canelo fight. A Canelo fight sells itself.
But still, they're not really advertising it.
And they're not really advertising this, what's supposed to be Davis versus Martin. I was told a date that I told you before, June 21st, which is in my contract. But the fight has moved to Houston. It is all legit. The fight will now be in Houston on June 22nd.
The fight with David Benavidez, David, whose name is also attached to a potential Canelo fight. In truth, when most people bring up David, that's what they're talking about.
I don't really care, Gvozdyk explained regarding Canelo. It doesn't affect anything really. It doesn't affect the status of the fight. It doesn't affect my opponent. It doesn't affect my purse. It might affect my ego, but I'm cool with my ego, so I don't give a shit. I don't care whatsoever. Just get me in line for a title fight. That's all I need. All the TV and YouTube being broadcasted everywhere, I don't care, as long as I get my fights.
You know, because more people are talking about Canelo versus Benavidez instead of Gvozdyk versus Benavidez, and it's the Gvozdyk fight that's made, at least according to Gvozdyk.
Benavidez moves up to debut at 175 pounds against the Ukrainian. He is coming off victories over Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade in the previous year. Benavidez appears to have become the media's favored opponent for Canelo after Munguia this upcoming May. Benavidez is a great fighter, Gvozdyk continued, but he is fighting me, not Canelo next. If I was him, I would be focusing on my upcoming fight, not focusing on Canelo, because he is scheduled to fight Munguia. If they are looking over me then, well, that's not what I'm hoping for, but if that's what it is, then I'll appreciate it. If they are looking over me, then perfect. It will make it easier for me. They say he is a monster. They need to give him more chances to survive. Benavidez recently appeared drunk while being interviewed on live TV, leading many to question his commitment. I will be expecting his best version, Gvozdyk added. Yes, we saw him drunk on TV, but we are more than 2 months away from the fight. He probably hasn't even started his camp yet. If he has the time to have fun and relax, then why not? Sometimes people drink. It's not prohibited. It's up to him. But maybe his fans don't want to see him this way. For me, though, I don't care. If he does keep drinking and not training, then perfect. It will be easier for me. I like Gvozdyk's matter-of-fact approach, and that he's Ukrainian, like me.
You're not Ukrainian.
It's not the point. The point is, well, the boxing community at large, and Team Benavidez to some degree, are all focused on a fight that may or may not happen. They may not be paying attention to the fight that is, and that could backfire on them. I feel Gvozdyk is a better fighter than any fighter that David has fought so far. Now is not the time to take your eyes off the ball, but if you're gonna do that, well, it's better for him.
He's a bigger guy than all of those guys that David has fought so far. He's also a bigger puncher. He's a bigger puncher than a Demetrius Andrade, a bigger puncher than a Caleb Plant.
To me and my money, a better boxer as well. Recently, I've been over with Gilberto Ramirez, helping him out for his world title fight. He looked faultless, actually, in that fight. I'm on the same routine as normal, but the levels have come up a bit for these big fights in training. It's a big step up on from my last fight, but I've faced this type of quality before.
Gvozdyk, since coming back, has fought about 3 times. It's been against 3 journeymen,
But that's no less than I would expect from a guy who was out for something like 2 or 3 years after suffering that loss to Benavidez, and there's no shame in that loss.
he's back.
Team Benavidez are tempting fate with this fight. That's what they're doing. There's potential banana skin energy here, and so much of their focus and the focus of their fans really is going into a fight that they claim won't happen because Canelo is afraid, because Canelo is scared. If that's how you feel, and he's moving up to 175 in his next fight, that should put the issue to bed. And yet that's all they can talk about. Canelo is not who he's fighting in his next fight. Gvozdyk is who he's fighting in his next fight. Someone really should tell David's fair weather fans, and I say fair weather because if he goes up to light heavyweight and he loses, all this momentum that he's amassed will fall by the wayside.
If you even want to call it that.
It's not support of David we're seeing. It's hate for Canelo in the form of support.
Support for David.
They were really supporting David. His pay-per-view buys last year would have been a lot better. All they can talk about, and all their focus, is still on Canelo.
In spite of this being David's next fight.
And it's a good fight with a very good fighter, a former champion. But it's not that they want to see David in good fights. They're just using David to shade Canelo. That's all it is.
That's why they're not talking about this fight.
They didn't really want him to go up there. They'd prefer he stay at 168 so they can keep using him to shade Canelo.